Hey guys, welcome back to my brand new video. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you all history, total history and civics. So today we're going to do history chapter 1. Okay. So guys, I am using Morningstar book as you can see of class 10 ICSE. So guys, further we have this chapter 1 of Indian National Movement 1857 to 1917. So the first war of independence 1857. This was also known as revolt. This was also known as revolt. So what what happened in this 1857? So guys, first we're gonna go through each para. So the first line says process of the British conquest of India, which began from mid 18th century and subsequent consolidation of British rule was resented by Indian belonging to all the segments of Indian society that were kings, queens, peasants, landlords, tribals, and soldiers. So the first war of independence in 1857, in which millions of peasants, artisans, and soldiers participated, it shook the British government to its very foundation. So the causes of the first war of independence, our first topic. Under it, we have first 100 years of the British rule in India, that was from 1757 to 1857. Important. So for the causes of the first war of independence, we have four causes. Okay. Political cause. I actually like this one. I have marked over here. P that. Let me just rewrite for you guys. So P dat. So what is this P dat? The short form. It is, so guys, P dat is the first thing, political cause, disrespect shown to Bahadur Shah, treatment given to Rana Sahib, and absentee sovereignty of the British. So it's a short form to remember, P dat. Then, under the political cause, we have other four division. Then I'll tell you later. So the first thing, what is political? The policy of expansion. So the British policy of territorial expansion and gradual annexation of the native Indian states was one of the major grievances of the Indian rulers. Ever since the Battle of Plassey, June 1757, the East India Company's territorial power increased rapidly. The British tried to expand the political power in India by four ways. That is, outright wars, the system of subsidiary alliance, and by adopting the doctrine of lapse, and on the pretext of alleged misrule. So these were the four subdivisions of this policy of expansion, which we have to remember. So to remember that, again, we have a short form. OSDA. So the first thing is by outright wars. So, outright wars to expand their territorial power in India and to safeguard their economic and political interests. The British waged many wars against the Indian rulers of different states. The Battle of Buxar, 1764, Anglo-Mysore Wars, 1767 to 1799. So guys, the other was Third Anglo-Maratha Wars, that was 1817 to 1818. Then the Punjab was annexed in 1849 after the Sikhs were defeated in the Second Anglo-Sikh War. From 1823 to 1856, the British further extended their empire by conquering Sindh, territories of Assam, Arakan, and Tenasserim, and Pegu in Myanmar. Subsidiary alliance. So, what is this subsidiary alliance? It was first thing introduced by Lord Wellesley. Important. So, subsidiary alliance was an agreement between the British East India Company and Indian princely states by virtue of which these states lost their sovereignty. The power of the to rule ruler to rule the independently to rule independently without any outside interference to the British. So we have some terms which you gotta import. So they are accepted the British as the supreme power, surrendered their foreign relations to the East India Company, and agreed that they would not enter any allowance with any other power and would not wage wars. Accepted a British resident at their headquarters and agreed not to employ any of the European in their service without consulting the company. Agreed to maintain British troops at their own cost. Virtually lost their independence. So guys, these subsidiary alliance, the other states which accepted this subsidiary alliance were the Nizam of Hyderabad, ruler of Mysore, Raja of Tanjore, the Tia, and the Rajput states of Jodhpur, Jaipur, Macheri, Bundi, and the ruler of Bharatpur. So, doctrine of lapse. So, doctrine of lapse. Lord Dalhousie, the Governor General of India, annexed many Indian states to the company using the doctrine of lapse. According to this doctrine, if an Indian ruler died without a male heir, his kingdom would lapse. So this was known as doctrine of lapse. That is, it would come under the company's territory in India. When the ruler of Jhansi died in 1853, leaving no natural heir, the widowed Rani was shunned, and their adopted son, Anand Rao, was not recognized as the lawful successor to the throne. So basically, Jhansi, who died in 1853, had no hair, not hair, heir. The widowed Rani was pensioned, and their adopted son, Anand Rao, was not recognized as a successor to the throne because he was adopted by Chasi. So the states which were annexed by applying the doctrine were Satara, Jaipur, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur. Now, alleged misrule. In 1856, Lord Dalhousie annexed Awadh to companies' dominions on the pretext of alleged misrule. He declared that Awadh was being misgoverned and the British rule was needed to ensure proper administration. Lord Dalhousie justified the annexation of Awadh on the pretext of the good of the governed. The contrary, the people of Awadh had to face the more hardships. They had to pay higher land revenue and additional tax on the food, houses, and ferries. The dissolution of Nawab of Awadh's army and administration threw thousands of nobles, officials, and soldiers out of jail. The British confiscated the estates of the talukdar and zamindaris. The dispossessed talukdars became the opponents of the British rule. The company's sepoys, of whom 75,000 were from Awadh, were worst affected. Then we have the second part of the causes of the First War of Independence, which is disrespect shown to Bahadur Shah, which comes after the political causes. So, Bahadur Shah Zafar, the Mughal Empire, was under the protection of the company, received a pension from the British. The name of the Mughal king was removed from the coins minted by the company. 1849, Lord Dalhousie announced that the successor of Bahadur Shah Zafar would not be permitted to use the Red Fort as their palace. They were required to shift a place near the Qutub Minar. In 1856, Lord Canning announced that after the death of Bahadur Shah, his successors would not be allowed to use the imperial titles with their names and would be known as mere princes. Now we have treatment given to Nana Sahib. Nana Sahib was adopted son of Bajirao II. Bajirao II was refused to give pensions. Nana Sahib was forced to live at Kanpur, far away from his family seat at Pune. This was widely resented in Maratha region. Nana Sahib had inherited wealth from the former Peshwa, which he utilized in sending emissaries to different parts of the country for the generating awareness among the Indians about the British policies. Now, absentee sovereignty of the British. Absentee sovereignty of the British means that the India was being ruled by the British government from England at the distance of thousands of miles. This was resented by the earlier rulers like Mughals who had conquered India, had in course of time settled in India. The revenues they collected from the Indians were spent in India only. Now we have socio-religious causes, which comes after the political causes. So political causes, socio-religious causes was basically about social and religious, as it says in its title. So here you have to remember, uh, how many do we have? We do have nine of it. So I guess we have to remember at least 7 to 8 of it. Just the heading and some description because you have to write in it in your exam. So the first thing is socio-religious causes. First thing is interference with the social customs. So aim to improving the conditions of the people. It was by abolition of sati 1829 and the Widow Remarriage Act 1856. The opening of the Western education to the girls were not welcomed by the masses. Now, apprehension about the modern innovation. It was that people were suspicious of introduction of modern innovation like railways and telegraph. There were rumors that telegraph poles were erected to hang those who were against the British rule. Similarly, Orthodox Indians noted that in the railway compartments, the higher caste and the lower castes were made to sit side by side. They believed that the British had introduced such practices to deface their caste and religion. So, the policy of racial discrimination, the British officers were rude and arrogant towards the Indians. They believed that they were superior to the Indians and followed a policy of contempt towards the Indians. They dubbed the Muslims as cruel and unfaithful. Some European officers ill treated and insulted Indians. Corruption in administration. The police and petty officials were corrupt. The rich got away with the crime, but the common man was looted and oppressed and tortured. Oppression of the poor. As it says, the complex judicial system enabled the rich to oppress the poor. Flogging, torture, and imprisonment of the cultivators of for their inability to pay arrears of the rent, land revenue, and interest on the debt were quite common. The growing poverty made the poor desperate and led them to join the general uprising in the hope of improving the lot. Activities of missionaries. The British were different from the Indians in the race, religion, and sentiments. In 18th century, the British showed a friendly attitude towards the Indian religions. They had no particular zeal for their own religion. Zeal means self-interest. And the company even acted as a trustee of some Hindu temples. However, in 19th century, this attitude underwent a change. The British began to interfere with the local religious and social customs. They denounced idol worship and dubbed local beliefs as in ignorance. Fears of Western education. The Western system of education was introduced in a number of schools in 1829. The Bengal government established an English class in Calcutta Madrasa, which was a Muslim institution. Later, English classes were introduced in Benares Sanskrit College. The shifting emphasis of from Oriental learning Two, Western education was not received well by the people, especially Pandits and the Malvis. It was just this one, so I had to cancel it. So never mind. Then we have taxing relation religious places, taxing lands belonging to the temples and mosques. Law of property, the Religious Disabilities Act of 1850 changed the Hindu law of property. It enabled a convert from Hinduism to other religions to inherit the property of his father. The Hindus regarded this as incentive to give one upon one's religious faith. Now, economic causes. Well, you've already seen it, so let's just show you. That was a shortcut which I made for my reference, so just you can ignore it anyways. So economic exploitation, the first thing comes to our mind is about economic resources, right? So the first thing says that's it. Economic exploitation of economic resources. So this was where the British exploited the Indian resources for their own benefit. They made agricultural India an economic colony to serve the interest of the industrial England. India was forced to export at cheaper rates raw materials like raw cotton and raw silk that the British industries needed urgently. Plantation products like indigo and tea and food grains, which were short in supply in Britain. Drain of wealth. In the till the Battle of Plassey 1757, the European traders used to bring gold into India to buy Indian cotton and silk. The transfer of wealth from India to England, for which India got no proportionate economic return, is called drain of wealth. Drain of wealth. Decay of cotton industries and handicrafts. Silk, heavy duties on Indian silk and cotton textiles in Britain destroyed and Indian industries. On the other hand, British goods were imported into India at a normal duty. By the middle of the 19th century, export cotton and silk goods from the India practically ceased. So here, for this, let me cut off, for this economic exploitation, you have to remember around 5 to 6. So I remember 5. So I'm going to tell you which all. So the first three, and this growing unemployment and the Innam Commission, the decline of aristocracy. Aristocracy. So just go through it. It is the easy ones which I picked it out. So then we have the military causes. Okay, ignore this again. Same thing. The ill treatment of Indian soldiers. Again, by the way, here you have to remember 5 to 6 again. So ill treatment of the Indian soldiers first thing, because they were this is said because they were poorly paid, ill-fed, and badly housed. Then General Service Enlistment Act. This is an important session, important topic, which is all about the British Parliament passed the General Service Enlistment Act, where the taboo for the Brahmin to cross the seas. So basically, Indian soldiers could not be sent overseas on duty. The act did not take into account the sentiments of the Indian soldiers. The Brahmin soldiers saw in this a danger to their caste. This led to a feeling of resentment among them. So basically, the Indian soldiers, especially Brahmins, could not cross over a sea or travel across the sea, whatever, because they thought it was against their caste. It was like some harm giving which they gave to their caste. So they did not uh, you know really liked the act which the British passed. Then the thing is, larger proportion of Indians in the British army, and poor performance of the British troops. This was four. Then the next page we have the fifth one, the lower salaries. So the Indian soldiers were given the lower salaries. So yeah. Then guys, what you have to remember is the immediate cost which can be asked in your exams. So introduction of the Enfield rifle. It was all about Enfield rifle. This immediate cost is simple, because let me just explain you in my own words. Okay, so guys, as you can see, I found a pic of the Enfield rifle, where this is the bullet and this is the cartridge. Okay, so this cartridge was made up of cow and pig fat. Okay, now it stopped. The people stopped using this, especially in India. So what happened is the people of the Indian army, the Indian military people, basically Hindus, meant that cows were their sacred, and the Muslims who were in the Indian army, military, whatever, they thought that pig was they were the unclean animals which they could not, you know, touch or eat. So basically, yeah, this was the reason why this was also a cause. So let's go back to our textbook, where we're gonna go through our let me go to so we're gonna go to the consequences of the first war of independence. Yeah, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, with a snap we are here. So consequences of the first war of independence, the end of the company's rule. The most significant result of the uprising of 1857 was the end of the rule of the East India Company and assumption of the government of India directly by the crown. So things you have to remember over here is important. Transfer the power to govern India from East India Company to British Crown. The first thing. The second thing, the company's board of control and the code of directors were abolished. The British cabinet was appointed secretary of the state for India and made responsible for all matters related to the governance of India. Second point. So he was given the council to advise him, called the Indian Council, The ultimate power over the Indian remained with the British Parliament. And here the Governor General, who was also given the title of Viceroy, that is the personal representative of the crown. So that was important. And who was given this? Lord Canning was appointed as the first viceroy under this act. Important, guys, they will ask. Then, guys, we have Queen Victoria. One more thing. Appointment to the civil service were to be made by the open competition under rules made by Secretary of the State. So Queen Victoria's proclamation incorporation, the transfer of the governments from East India Company (EIC) to the British Crown (BC) was made public at Allahabad on November 1, 1858 by Lord Canning at the first Viceroy of India. The proclamation promised that the government of the India would follow a policy of non-intervention in the social and religious matters of India, treat all subjects, Indians and Europeans, as equal, grant a general pardon to all those who had taken part in the war except those who were found guilty in the murder of British subjects. Do its best to advise the British industries in the India, promote works of public utility in India so as to ensure the material as well as the moral progress of the people. Then also you can write policy of divide and rule. You can write racial antagonism, and you could write relations with princely states, foreign policy, end of Mughals, and Peshwas. So just go through it, and I guess we have nothing much. We also have some of more of this one, the consequences, the religious changes over here, the change in army, rise of nationalism. We have economic exploitation, which we already went through. And yes, guys, we're done with the consequences. Now we'll go to the next page. Oh, I guess we're done then. Yes, guys. So the cancellation over here, don't mind it, because that was actually not for my syllabus. For my 2024 examination, I don't know about 2025 examination. Just go through a syllabus which is given by your teachers, or you can also go through the ICSC website where they have given the actual syllabus, or also any other website you can go through. And also, if you are actually too lazy to go there, you can actually go to page number the first page of of each chapter, where you find the syllabus box, where you can see the actual syllabus of that each chapter which you are going to learn further or revise further. So I guess we're done for this video. I hope you enjoyed learning, and it was great teaching you history after a long time. So yeah, I'll meet you in the next video. Till then, take care, everyone. Stay safe at home. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care, everyone. Peace out.